Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. So today is an exciting day here. I've owned this Volt for exactly 1 month. 1 month of ownership. I have put on 856 miles, so a little under what I estimated I would own this vehicle for, or a little under the estimate of mileage I would use for a month. I have averaged 233.3 miles per gallon. God bless this Volt. And I have used a total, including the trip back from the dealership, was a 2-hour drive, 2-hour road trip, 3.6 gallons of gas. So at about $4.10 a gallon, that is maybe $14 used. So $14 it has costed me to use for gas. Now the kilowatt hours here, I've averaged it out to being about 9 cents per kilowatt hour between my house and the golf course where or the business I should say, where I charge this at. So over the month of ownership, what have been some of the pros and what have been some of the cons? Well, I want to start with the pros first. So in the fleet of vehicles that my girlfriend and myself have, I have my Ram truck for work. I have my Challenger SRT8 and my 300 SRT8 that I drive occasionally on the weekends when I get time, or when I'm not working, which is all the time as a business owner. And then we have our GLE 43 AMG, and we have this Volt. So this is the I guess I would say 5th car in our fleet. So the pros. This is actually a fairly I guess fun car. 0 to 30, it's very fun. Takes about 3 seconds to go from 0 to 30, so you get a little bit of rush there. But it takes 9 seconds to get from 0 to 60. So it definitely doesn't blow your socks off in terms of acceleration. That is for sure. You really have to plan your passing or your merging onto a highway out. That is for sure. But sticking with the pros, the low center of gravity on this vehicle actually makes it, when you're turning, actually makes it pretty fluid and pretty confident on the roads, which is fun. I totally enjoy that. This, in terms of just driving characteristics, and GM is great at this with their vehicles, even their front wheel drive vehicles. It's a very fun car to take around the corners. It has a good balance of sport and it has a good balance of comfort. So when you're on bumpy roads, like we commute on every single day in northern Wisconsin because the roads are so bad, this vehicle provides you with excellent comfort in terms of the shocks, the suspension, the steering. Now, granted, the steering is, and that's a con, I will get to that, the steering is no feel. You have no feel to the steering. But the steering is very sharp, very responsive, which is great. So the low center of gravity, this car weighing 3,900 pounds, which is actually the lightest car in the fleet that we have, so it does feel smaller. Paired to it with the electric power, it does a great job in that 0 to 30, 0 to 40 time. It makes a fairly enjoyable, drive. Another pro, for us, we could plug this thing basically in wherever. Now, my girlfriend cannot plug it in where she works, but she works for the business, of course, on the weekends, so we can just plug it in there, which is great. So at home, it gets about 50% of the charging. At the business, at the course, it gets about 50% charging. So that 50% charging at the golf course is a deductible expense, essentially. Yes, I still am paying for it per month, but it's a deductible expense. So in total, it's costing us maybe $5 a day to charge us, $10 a day. I haven't had a chance to look at my electrical bills yet, but we can just take a look at the kilowatt, and this is nice about the volt. It shows you the kilowatt hours used. So actually, let's just show that to you quick. So this is the volt interface here. You have your energy used. So I roughly say, just on the high side, that's 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So right now you're looking at about 15 cents to drive 3.6 miles. So over the course of the day, you can multiply that, I guess, and when we get to the course, we will figure out that multiplication there. But yeah, that's pretty sweet. Again, interface here is great. Let's just touch on that too as a pro. So this is a base model Volt, as we can see. Cloth seats, no heated seats, nothing special. I didn't need anything special. The sound system isn't special. This is just a base model Volt. And it actually comes with a decent amount of features. So you've got a digital instrument cluster up front here, which is actually really intuitive and really nice. So you've got some buttons on the left. You can kind of configure a different layout if you really want to. You've got a bunch of information here down below. You've got your battery gauge on the left, which you just saw go down, and then this is my favorite one to show you how much energy usage you're using. The steering wheel, we'll touch on that in the cons, and then this awesome MyLink system. So this is very similar to a Chevy MyLink system that you would get out of a Malibu or an Impala or something like that. I actually like all the redundant buttons here. Well, I guess touch-sensitive buttons, sort of like the Cadillac Q. I like that. I like the system. It's very easy to use. The one thing I don't like is that there is no button to get back to the stereo. So you have to go into the menu. But looking around, it's a hatchback too. Guys, there is so much room in this vehicle, it's not funny. We could fit our golden retriever dog that weighs almost 100 pounds in the back of this, and these rear seats fold down, so you have ample room for storage. There is almost as much storage in this as there is in my girlfriend's GLE 43. That's amazing. So as we touch on some more pros here. For us, we've never had to use gas. This is the perfect daily driver. It's a combination of fun because of the electric power. None of us have really driven electric cars before, so you could throw this into sport mode and you get instantaneous throttle response. And yeah, you can burn out the tires on this, which is kind of fun. So there we go. As we're accelerating, yeah, it's enough oomph to get you where you need to go. There we go. It's kicking in. It's just a novelty that we essentially don't have and haven't experienced before. And you've got a bunch of different modes here to either regenerate the battery with the engine or hold the battery where it's at with the engine. So tons of storage in here. The sound in the base model isn't bad as well. You know, it's definitely not clear, but for a daily driver, what do you expect? It's just really a great vehicle. Now, I have test driven a Volt that is a Premier, so it's a nicer model. Yeah, you get adaptive cruise, you get a leather-wrapped steering wheel, you do get leather, and that does make it more comfortable. But for our sake, having two luxury vehicles and two sports cars, muscle cars, we don't need to go all out on a Volt. Now, a Volt as your, let's hit the cons here next. So a Volt as your second driver car, depending on what you have for your main vehicle, I don't know if I could do this because it's not fun enough to justify as your second car. As your third car, yes. But if you do have as your first car, let's just say you have a Camaro or a Corvette, and nobody's going to have that as your first car, but let's just go sedans. Lexus IS 500, something on that line. Charger V8, something like that. Yeah, this could suit as your daily driver. I think this could suit as your daily driver. But if you have an SUV, if you have a family as your main car and you don't have a fun SUV, don't expect this to be your secondary fun car. It's not. It's a daily driver. That's exactly what this is. So hitting on some of the cons, the steering wheel in this vinyl wrap steering wheel sucks. This is probably the worst steering wheel I have ever used before. In terms of feel, in terms of design, I like it. It's a nice size, but the feel is just terrible. They should have leather wrapped this. The next thing on the list, a lot of hard plastics in here. A lot of really hard plastics, so typical of Chevy, I guess. It's a Chevy interior. What can you expect? For me, I guess it really doesn't bother me that much because of the fact we have different vehicles. So for me, I'm totally fine with what this is. The next is the steering feel. Now, yes, the steering is sharp, like I said, but there is no steering feel to this. When you go over bumps, when you're trying to go on bumpy roads, when you're turning sharply, there's no steering wheel feel whatsoever. And that kind of comes with the territory of the car. I guess for me, a next con would be the fact that this doesn't have more than 35 miles of range, but for what it's worth, that's not a con for me. For some other people, that would be a con, but for me, that is not a con. I don't mind that at all. It gets the job done for what we needed to do. So, I mean, really, as a tertiary car, as a third-rate car or third car for us to drive, I can't think of any more cons because it does exactly what you need it to do. Exactly. You've got space for storage. You've got space for passengers if you need it. And they actually have room. Yeah, the seats aren't comfortable in this cloth trim. They really suck. But for what it's worth and what you need it to do, this car is great. Now, if you opt for a higher trim, yes, the leather seats are comfortable. I love those leather seats. But for this is exactly what we needed it to do. And over the month of ownership that we've had it, both of us couldn't be any happier than what we are now. Honestly, this is the cheapest car I've ever bought and probably the most fun I've had with a car in terms of price range. I love it. I love this car. And not to mention another pro of this vehicle. So for me as a business owner, I need help with the taxes, all the help I can get. So the price of this car was $7,500. I get 30% back of the price of the car to go towards a tax rebate or a tax credit at the end of 2025. So next year, around this time, when I file my taxes, I get whatever that is, $2,400 or $2,500 back in a tax credit to go towards my tax return. Excuse me, I can't talk. That's phenomenal. That helps me out so much. So over the course of 2 years, I'm essentially paying nothing for this car, except for electricity, insurance, payment. I'm paying nothing for this car. It's saving me money. All the numbers I've ran, it's saving me money, saving us money over the course of the long term, which is great. And the reliability of these cars are phenomenal. From what I've heard, 200,000 miles on these vehicles, no problems. So for us, it makes total sense. It's a fantastic car. And once we hit the exterior here quick, you're going to see why. And I'm truly blessed to be able to get this car, and I have to say I thoroughly enjoy this vehicle. I never thought I would love a Chevy Volt or a Chevy product, GM product for that matter, as much as I've loved this Chevy Volt. I am in love with the vehicle. So let's hit the outside here and show you around. All right, just to show you, so that was a 13-mile drive into work. 4.6 kilowatt hours used. It cost me 46 cents to drive to work. 46 cents. So, taking a look at the outside of the vehicle, this is the last Pro. I actually love the shape and love the design of this vehicle. It is so unique that not a lot of other people have these Volts on the road. And I actually want to touch on this. The braking power is adequate for this vehicle. The braking power is adequate. But looking at the exterior here, there's really not another vehicle that looks like this on the road. And again, just the functionality here. Look at all that room. Once you put down the seats, you throw your charger back there. But yeah, there's more than enough room in the back. It's really a great looking vehicle, and I don't feel womanly, I guess, driving this car. I actually feel pretty dang cool about myself, probably because of the fact that we have 4 other really cool cars. But I have to say, I don't feel like I'm giving up my manhood driving this vehicle, which is what you want out of a Chevy Volt. Really, as a male driving this, I think that's super important. But yeah, I'm very impressed. This is one of my top 3 vehicles I've ever purchased, and I have purchased or been part of purchasing, I think, around 15 vehicles. So this is definitely a top 3. Very impressed, guys. Very impressed. Take a look at this Chevy Volt 1-month review here. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. We will see you in the next one.